French far-right leader Marine Le Pen said on Tuesday that supporting a no-confidence vote to remove Prime Minister Michel Barnier is the only way to protect the public.
Only hours after it had been in effect, South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol lifted the martial law he imposed the night before. Yoon said his government withdrew military personnel following a bipartisan parliamentary vote that rejected the law.
저는 어제 밤 11시를 기해 국가의 본질적 기능을 마비시키고 자유민주주의 헌정 질서를 붕괴시키려는 반국가 세력에 맞서 결연한 구국의 의지로 비상계엄을 선포하였습니다. 그러나 조금 전 국회의 계엄 해제 요구가 있어 계엄 사무에 투입된 군을 철수시켰습니다.
Hundreds of protesters had gathered in front of the parliament, waving banners and calling for Yoon to step down. Others were seen blocking military vehicles. Meanwhile, military troops stormed the parliament building. People inside linked arms and used furniture to create barricades. Some military personnel were blocked from entering the chamber by lawmakers who sprayed fire extinguishers at them. It was reported that police and military personnel were quick to leave parliament grounds following the vote.
The Israeli defense minister warns that if the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah breaks down, Israel will expand its strikes beyond areas where Hezbollah is concentrated and target the Lebanese state itself. His comments come as both sides of the conflict accuse the other of violating the ceasefire.
המדיניות שלנו ביחד עם צה"ל היא ברורה וחד משמעית. אנחנו נפעל בכל העוצמה כדי לאכוף את כל ההבנות האלה וכל הסכם הפסקת האש הזה. ואנחנו נהיה עם מקסימום תגובה ואפס סובלנות.
Israel largely refrained from striking critical infrastructure of the Lebanese armed forces during the 14th-month conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. The war appeared to have come to an end last week after a ceasefire brokered by the United States and France, but is threatened as attacks continue.
At least 3 civilians were killed in an airstrike on a hospital in Idlib on Monday, say the Syrian White Helmets, an opposition-run rescue service. As rebel fighters in Syria continue to advance, government forces have stepped up strikes on the rebel-held city of Idlib as well as positions in Aleppo. Insurgents have taken over large parts of Aleppo since Sunday, including its international airport. Footage captured by one of the fighters also appears to show them entering a palace believed to belong to Syrian President Assad. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said on Monday that at least 44 civilians, including 12 children, had been killed in Syria since 26 November. It added that almost 50,000 people have been displaced, with key infrastructure like schools and hospitals damaged by airstrikes.
Good morning. We will now hear
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said allies need to focus more on delivering military aid to Ukraine ahead of a 2-day summit in Brussels.
But we will all need to do more, especially now. The stronger our military support to Ukraine is now, the stronger their hand will be at the negotiating table. And the sooner we can end Russian aggression once and for all in Ukraine.
He argued that increased military support should take priority over discussions on a peace deal.
But I would argue, let's not have all these discussions step by step on what a peace process might look like. Make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to get to a position of strength when those peace talks start, when the Ukrainian government has decided they are ready to do so.
Rutte also announced that NATO will boost intelligence sharing and enhance the protection of critical infrastructure in the face of Russian acts of sabotage against allies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also reiterated his call for his country to become a NATO member as soon as possible. Rutte said that the process towards full membership is happening step by step.
Everything will be fine, is what Russian President Vladimir Putin told the injured soldiers during a visit to a center specialized in orthopedics in Moscow. Putin spoke with servicemen who took part in the war in Ukraine and were undergoing treatment and rehabilitation at the medical complex.
Смотрел на такие тяжелые травмы, амбиции сохранились, значит, все будет хорошо, все будет нормально. Я посмотрел, как идет реабилитация, там, ребят, ну, у вас то же самое. Главное, чтобы все позволяло, вся эта конструкция позволяла жить полноценной жизнью, так, как вы жили до этой травмы тяжелой.
According to a study by the Wall Street Journal citing intelligence and undisclosed sources, about 1 million Ukrainians and Russians have been killed or wounded since the beginning of the war. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen said on Tuesday in a tweet that supporting a no-confidence vote to remove Prime Minister Michel Barnier is the only way to protect the public from a dangerous, unjust and punitive budget under the country's constitution. Barnier faces a no-confidence vote on Wednesday, likely to topple his fragile government and raise concerns in the Eurozone. On Monday, Barnier used a rare constitutional tool to push through his contentious social security budget without a parliamentary vote after failing to come to an agreement with Le Pen's National Rally. Barnier made last-minute concessions, reducing healthcare coverage for undocumented migrants to gain far-right's backing. Both the National Rally and a left-wing coalition have tabled no-confidence votes against Barnier, which combined is enough to oust the Prime Minister.
Romania is coming to terms with a new political reality. Despite their success in parliamentary elections, pro-Western parties are likely to form a coalition amid the rise in popularity of the far right. Many observers believe the outcome was a protest vote, representing a sharp boost from mainstream parties to an anti-establishment movement.
I think through yesterday's vote, Romanians wanted to send a clear message to their own politicians rather than to Europe. The significant increase in support for the extremists compared to 2020 shows that in Romania there is an important social discontent. Nevertheless, parts of yesterday's vote came from Romanians who wanted to defend their country's pro-EU stance, alarmed by the results in the first round of the presidential elections.
Though the new parliament's composition means Romania will continue on its pro-Western and pro-Ukraine path, all eyes are on this weekend's presidential election and its potential repercussions in the region and across the EU. Ultra-nationalist Călin Georgescu won the first round of the presidential election and is set to face the pro-European Elena Lasconi in Sunday's showdown.
Vreau să vă mulțumesc că nu v-ați jucat ruleta rusească cu democrația din România și cu acest drept sfânt de a vota liber.
The fragmentation of the vote has prompted pro-Western parties to start discussing possible coalition options in order to form a government. However, each of these possibilities points out to a government with reduced stability. And there is, of course, the great question mark regarding the results of the second round of presidential elections next Sunday between the ultra-nationalist candidate Călin Georgescu and the pro-Western candidate Elena Lasconi.
Georgia's prime minister denied on Tuesday that his government was turning away from joining the European Union. He appeared to blame European officials for the delay to Georgia's integration with the bloc.
და პოლიტიკოსებს მათ შორის იმათ, რომლებიც ხელოვნურად აფერხებენ ჩვენი ქვეყნის ევროინტეგრაციას და დონ მაგიდაზე მოლაპარაკების გახსნა და იმ დღესვე, იმ წამსვე ვაწერთ ხელს.
The Georgian government announced on Thursday it was suspending talks on joining the EU sparking 5 nights of furious protests in the capital, which saw more than 200 people arrested. Wolves are set to lose some of their protection status under a new proposal from the European Commission. Euronews correspondent Monica Pina reports from a livestock farm in the French Vercors Natural Park, of which the owner welcomes the decision.
Sono nel parco naturale del Vercors, nel dipartimento dell'Isère. Questa è una delle zone considerate più a rischio per gli attacchi dei lupi. In particolare mi trovo in un'azienda agricola specializzata, lo vedete, nell'allevamento ovino. Il titolare Eric ha subito 4 attacchi da parte dei lupi negli ultimi 20 anni, perdendo una decina di animali. Si è detto soddisfatto della decisione della Convenzione di Berna per il declassamento dello status di protezione del lupo. Per lui è un riconoscimento dovuto da parte dell'Unione Europea nei confronti degli allevatori che da anni chiedono di potersi proteggere nei confronti degli attacchi di questi predatori. Posizione totalmente diversa a quella delle associazioni ambientaliste, per le quali questa decisione è un duro colpo contro la biodiversità e dicono che è una decisione presa senza alcuna base scientifica. Ha fatto polemica infatti questa proposta della Commissione europea presentata alla Convenzione di Berna dopo che il pony della Presidente della Commissione Ursula von der Leyen era stato ucciso proprio da un lupo nel settembre del 2022. E dal Vercors è tutto.